That is why I believe influencers should stick to their own field rather than trying to overreach into the field of something that they don't know by reading few books here and there. As you would know, half knowledge is dangerous. Now imagine Mr. Vikas Divakirti when he talks something like this, and he's a very popular figure amongst UPSC aspirants. Hey there, my name is Dr. Kapil Kakkar. I welcome you to another episode of Brain and Behavior. Today we shall be talking about free will versus destiny. And why I have taken this up is because internet is buzzing with debate, free will versus destiny. In fact, in 2017, I did a TEDx talk on free will versus destiny. You can check that out on YouTube. And now coming to this hot topic. And before I start this topic, there is a very popular influencer by the name of Vikas Divakirti ji. He has recently in the podcast said that free will as per neuroscience is an illusion. However, that is not true. And that is what I would be addressing today, whether free will exists or not. So let's listen first what he has to say.
न्यूरोसाइंस की दुनिया के बड़े प्रसिद्ध आदमी हैं। फ्री विल खत्म कर दी उन्होंने। एक फ्री विल को लेके कॉन्सेप्ट में आए, इल्यूजनिज्म बोलते हैं उसको। तो वो लोग कहते हैं कि फ्री विल एक इल्यूजन है, एक भ्रम है। मतलब फ्री विल की कल्पना करना ही बेवकूफ़ी है। ये जब से ईईजी वगैरह आ गया ना, उसके बाद से बड़ा आसान हो गया एक्सपेरिमेंट करना। तो हमारा ब्रेन और माइंड का अंतर आप समझ जाओगे। ब्रेन फिजिकल पार्ट है और जो अंदर कॉन्शियसनेस वाला पार्ट है उसको माइंड कह देते हैं ना। तो उन्होंने ब्रेन पे जो इलेक्ट्रोड्स वाले, आजकल तो पूरा हेलमेट जैसा होता है, सारे वो जो कनेक्शन हो जाते हैं के बारे में। पानी पीने का निर्णय किया, हाथ बढ़ाया, उसके 2-3 सेकंड या मिली सेकेंड्स पहले अंदर जो न्यूरॉन्स की एक्टिविटी हुई, वो न्यूरॉन्स की एक्टिविटी पहले ही ये तय कर चुकी थी कि मुझे पानी पीने के लिए हाथ बढ़ाना है।
Like you heard Mr. Vikas Divakirti saying that free will does not exist as per neuroscience, and he quotes Sam Harris, who works on neuroscience. However, I will like to dive deep into this and tell you why free will exists. And there is no neuroscience evidence that it does not exist. Even if Sam Harris has said that free will is an illusion, that does not mean free will becomes an illusion, because Sam Harris is not divine. Secondly, there is an unproven hypothesis which Mr. Vikas Divakirti here is banking on. That is the unfortunate part. So when you name drop someone, that does not mean he is the only person who is the god of neuroscience. I think is not proper. Now I go to the second reason. So here Mr. Vikas Divakirti talks about EEGs and electrodes. In neuroscience, it is called neuroimaging and neurobiology. Neuroimaging primarily shows the different parts of the brain and how they are working. And neurobiology primarily shows what is the function of each brain and how does the nerve cells react and communicate with each other through dendrites. Moreover, it also, through neurobiology, we come to know which molecules would pass what kind of messages inside the brain. So perhaps he may not know, I give him that a bit of discount because he does not come from this field. However, so when you talk about EEGs and electrodes, it is basically neuroimaging and neurobiology which interplays a pivotal role. Now I come to the third point, which is extremely important. Here, when he talks about free will is an illusion, what through neuroscience so far we know is that the prefrontal cortex, when it fires certain nerve cells or what somebody is going to do, for example, which ice cream will you like to have or which pizza would you might opt for, the chances of prediction is 80%. And what is science? Science is something which we can predict at least with more than 99% accuracy. But again, the question lies would be, then how come we are able to predict even 80%? It is because our brain, it retrieves all the information from the past pertaining to a particular thing. It assimilates and then it sees the pattern and then it gives its prediction. Now, this prediction does not mean that the brain has predicted and it has guided you or it has told you to buy a particular ice cream, be it strawberry or vanilla. It was absolutely based on your free will which ice cream you wanted to buy, which flavor you wanted to buy. It is like your algorithm that works when you are watching YouTube or any other social media platform. The kind of interest that you have, the YouTube and other platforms will show you similar videos. And that is how brain works. But it does not mean that you are going to watch that particular video, because in life, the situation, the circumstances, the interests, everything would change. When your situation, circumstances, etc. change, so does the pattern of your brain. Your brain starts learning and assimilating newer information, which would again be retrieved at a certain point of time. But having said that, that does not mean you don't have a free will. I take this a little forward when he says, you would have heard he says the brain decides 2 to 3 seconds before or a few milliseconds before. What neuroimaging has found is your brain will tell you 700 milliseconds before you report that decision or take a call. But that does not mean that the brain is directing you to eat a particular ice cream. Like I said, it's only 80% accuracy, which is based on various other things and inferences. Once again, please remember, patterns aren't destiny. They are not destiny. Patterns are not destiny, because our situation and circumstances will change in life, and so does our free will would accordingly take decision according to the growing circumstances of the situation that we come across. That is why I believe influencers should stick to their own field rather than trying to overreach into the field of something that they don't know by reading few books here and there. As you would know, half knowledge is dangerous. Now imagine Mr. Vikas Divyakirti, when he talks something like this, and he's a very popular figure amongst UPSC aspirants. So tomorrow UPSC aspirants would, even if they fail, what will they think? They will think, well, we failed because we were destined to. It was a concept of determinism that we failed. So since there was nothing in our hands, which means people who are not able to clear UPSC will start believing in destiny, and they will not learn from their mistakes, because they would also believe if they were destined to be successful, one day they would be. So this is a very dangerous trend on YouTube, where popular influencers would talk about anything without having the said mind, information, knowledge, study of that particular subject. In fact, Mr. Vikas may not know a concept of neuroplasticity. Now, what is neuroplasticity? When the brains, the nerve cells in your brain, when they die, mostly it's been seen when you would see people getting head injuries. So when the brain cells die, does that mean that the dead brain cells will not function, that area of the brain will not function? It is partially true, but through neuroplasticity, what happens is, that is why you see that apart from medication, yes, there are certain other assistance and facilitations which are done, like physiotherapy, like asking the person to undergo various other speech therapies, etc. Why that happens is because the corresponding side of the brain, the nerve cells of that particular corresponding side of the brain will take over a period of time. So when we talk about destiny, in that case, if the dead neuron is dead, no other part of the brain would have taken up. But through practice, now the question is, when somebody is practicing, say, speech therapy or physiotherapy or hands not moving and practicing the movement of hand, is it free will or is it destiny? Is the brain, that part of the brain which has died, is it communicating to that person, well, I demand and I instruct you to motivate yourself? And is it telling some other person, I instruct you to stay demotivated, do not get into physiotherapy, do not get into any such therapy? It doesn't happen like that. Every person who has had an accident, a brain accident, has and will undergo a therapy. So yes, free will exists. So controlling your steering, speed, brakes, turn is all your free will. Please remember that. It's not destiny, it is free will. So as I conclude this video, let me assure you, there is no evidence that it is all destiny. Once again, please beware. And let me tell you another thing, that we are very close to cracking the theory of reincarnation. But since it's not been completely scientifically proven, I'm not going to claim or say anything loosely on that. Let's wait for perhaps few months or couple of years, and let me tell you, you are going to have a very interesting research that comes out proving reincarnation. On that note, if you like this video, kindly share it far and wide. Ciao, bye bye, take care.